Even when you don't want to or you don't fully understand, you have to learn how to trust the process. Welcome or welcome back. It's your favorite mental health specialist, Ty Guidance. And yes, that is what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Now, with that being said, because there's no right or wrong way to heal yourself, always and only take what resonates as well as leave the rest. So if it does not apply, it's not for you, okay? So let it fly. But most importantly, grab your pens, grab your paper, and be prepared to take notes. In this video, we're going to discuss and go over why you should trust the process, even when you may not have everything figured out, as well as some recommendations, some reminders, some disclaimers, and what to be aware of when you are embracing the unknown. Starting off with the disclaimers. There are going to be times where you have understanding, and there are going to be times where you don't. The times where you're able to understand yourself and what's going on in life or just in general, you don't want to doubt. You don't want to second guess yourself. So if you know something, you have to be confident in understanding it. Despite what people say and do, you have to be able to trust yourself. You have to be able to trust your intuition. And if you believe in God, ancestors, the universe, you have to be able to trust what is being seen and shown to you. The moment you doubt your intuition or you doubt yourself is the moment things become uncertain and you don't have clarity. When you don't understand something, acknowledge that you feel confused. When you don't have a certain level of discernment, acknowledge that you may feel naive or lost. You don't have to beat yourself up about something that maybe you've never experienced or were taught and shown. So when we know something, we know it. And when we don't, we say that. My camera got cut off because my alarm went off. But lastly, what I was saying is that when you know something, you know it. When you don't, you don't. You don't have to beat yourself up. You don't have to operate out of ego. You don't have to be intimidated. You don't have to be insecure. If you don't know something, that means it's time for you to learn. Become teachable. The same way you know what you've experienced and what you've been taught and shown is the same way you can be open to receive information. And that's the same thing when it comes to your process in your healing journey and just life in general. Until we learn how to be teachable in certain moments and until we realize there's something that we can learn from the situation, the more you'll feel like, why am I going through this? The more you'll complain and feel lost and insecure. And it's like, we can't be conflicted. The second thing you have to realize when trusting the process is that you may have control over certain things and you may not. This goes back to what you know and what you don't know. When you have control over certain situations, be intentional, be specific, stop wasting your time. If you know that what it's saying and what it's doing doesn't resonate with you or it's not for you, it's not for you. You don't have to force it. You don't have to chase. You don't have to jump through hurdles. It doesn't have to be difficult. If something's for you, you experience it when you're supposed to. And if it's not, be okay with it. Some days you're going to have control over certain things. Some days you're not. So for example, you may have control on what it is that you want to wear to work or to school. You may not have control over if there's accidents or if there's traffic. You have to still be able to keep the same level of composure when you have control over situations and when you don't. If not, you become emotionally irregulated and imbalanced. And this is where you start to sabotage yourself. This is why a lot of people sabotage themselves, because when they don't have control, they lose it. They're so used to having control. They're so used to things being a certain type of way. So it's like the moment things don't happen when you want them to happen, or the moment something happens unexpectedly, or your whole world turns upside down. You don't have to do that. And speaking from experience, what has helped me along my healing journey was to realize that if I don't have control of a situation, the best thing that I and you could do is just relax. When you're meant to get clarity and directions and instructions, they will come. Now, of course, how long that's going to take depends on when you're supposed to receive the information. If you have discernment, if you are becoming mature, you know that. And if you believe in God, ancestors, and universe, once again, I'm not here to force religion or spirituality, so take what resonates, leave the rest. If it's in your control, you'll know what to do. Think about all the times where you had control and you knew what to do with the opportunity, with the experience, with the people, place, and things, versus the time where you had to take a step back, where you had to relax, when you had to calm down, when you had to be present. You just allowed things to happen. You just had to allow things to be what it is. The third thing to be aware of is knowing that if you are meant to do something and you want certain things, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, it's going to turn out for you. So you have to learn how to build faith and trust within yourself. If you don't trust yourself, you're going to struggle. If you don't trust yourself, you're not going to trust God. You're not going to trust the universe. You're not going to trust your ancestors. You're not going to trust people and places and things to be a part of your journey or for you to execute the goal that you have. Until you learn how to trust yourself, it's going to be a struggle. So the fourth thing that you also need to be aware of when you feel conflicted is asking yourself, why do you feel confused? Whenever you feel confused about something, so many people automatically get defensive or feel like they're being attacked or immediately shut down. Instead of shutting down, instead of feeling attacked, instead of getting defensive, this is something that you have to practice. You need to ask yourself, why are you confused? So if you're in a season of your life right now and you don't understand why you're in this season, you need to ask yourself, well, what is it about this season? What's happening to me emotionally, physically, consciously, financially, that's causing me to doubt myself? That's causing me to not be sure. That's causing me to feel insecurities. And then as you take your time to reflect, you can come up with your solution. And then once again, you'll have the instructions and directions on what to do and when to do it. So lastly, take your time. So many of us feel like we're behind in life because you're comparing yourself to other people's journeys. You're seeing other people do things. And there's nothing wrong with being inspired or thinking people are admirable, but we don't all live the same life. We don't all have the same things that everybody else has. Like, you're doing yourself a disservice to compare yourself to people that you see or that you know who aren't you, especially when you know they haven't gone through the things that you went through or that they had certain resources and certain tools. So if you grew up and maybe you were less fortunate emotionally, physically, or financially, and you compare yourself to people who have always been financially and emotionally stable, you're doing yourself a disservice. Like, you don't have to be envious. You don't have to be bitter. You don't have to compare yourself. You can see that people are doing the things that you want to do. So like I said, be inspired and know that it's possible. But you focusing on what everybody else is doing and feeling like if you have this and you have that doesn't change your situation. So it's like, unless you have the resources and the tools such as education and information and finances, complaining doesn't do anything for you. So now, when it comes to the recommendations, the first thing that you have to start doing is allowing the days to go by. You have to allow every single day to be what it is. You don't have to be angry all day, every week, every month, every year. You have to go through the emotions. So like, yes, some days may feel lighter. Some days it may not be as problematic. You may not have as many adversities and challenges. And some days you may. You still have to be able to show up despite of what's going on. This is how you learn how to build faith and confidence in your season of the unknown, because it's like when you're doing things that are unfamiliar, you really don't know specifically how it's meant to turn out. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that we don't have intuition and that we don't have a sense of knowing, but until something comes to pass, just because you have an idea of how it may happen, you still have to be open for it to happen any other way. Because it's like when we set our minds, and I'm speaking from experience, when we set our mind on one way of doing anything, we're limiting ourselves. And that's why a lot of people feel disappointed and they don't trust themselves, because if you limit yourself to only one way of thinking or one way of something can happen, any other way that it tries to come in, you've already blocked it because you've already made up in your mind that it has to be done this way. And speaking from experience, the more you try to challenge something that's for you, the more there's resistance, not resentment, but there's resistance. Like, you're blocking it. And that's what happens. That's why a lot of people really don't trust the process, because they think things are supposed to be a certain type of way. And it's like, you don't know. You have to be okay with being surprised. Now, of course, when you're used to being traumatized, you just automatically feel like things are not going to get better. Or if you're used to thinking and preparing for the worst, that's what you've been accustomed to. So if you've always been somebody who thinks the worst before you think positivity, that's why you feel the way you do. So that's going to be the third thing. You have to be able to change the way that you think about situations, which is practice. Everything that we're saying in this video requires practice, energy, and effort. You have to practice changing your mind, which goes back to challenging why you feel negative. Why do you doubt yourself? Why do you feel insecure? So in the comment section, on your notes, address why you feel insecure about what it is that you're going after, or what it is that you're feeling. Like, why do you have insecurities? Why do you have insecurities, and what are they? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? What are your insecurities? How it makes you feel? The fourth thing, be vulnerable, be honest. Until you can be vulnerable, until you can be accountable, until you can be honest, you're the only person that's suffering. Nobody's going to judge you on this account. And honestly, if people judge you for having insecurities, they're hypocritical. Everybody goes through things. Everybody's feelings are valid. No grown adult, nobody who's successful, productive, or anybody that you actually genuinely want to be like is going to make you feel bad about not always being sure. Especially, like I said, if you were not taught and shown. This is something that you have to practice daily. This is a lifestyle. Healing is not something that you just do for a day, not even for a year. You have to do this for a long period of time, because you're constantly evolving, you're constantly growing. So when you're in your moments of uncertainty, a lot of times you just need to relax. A lot of times you need to stop, drop, and roll. A lot of times you need to take a step back. Sometimes you do have to stay still or take a step back to move forward, because you can't walk into something or go somewhere if you don't know how to get there. Like, or if you've made up in your mind that there was only one way to get there. When it comes to not being afraid and trusting the process, you have to be free, which means you can't have any attachments. And that's going to be the last thing. When it comes to expectations, unless it's familiar, unless you've done it before, unless you have the experience, you have to let go of things that are not in alignment with you. So just because in the beginning you thought things were going to be a certain type of way, and then something happens, you have to be okay with it. Until you let go of having so much control, because that's causing the attachment to an outcome, the more you're going to be paranoid, the more you're going to be insecure, the more you're going to constantly have to go through these fluctuations of emotions. You're so overly attached to the outcome or the opportunity that you're causing yourself the paranoia. You're causing yourself to be afraid. You're causing yourself to be scared. This is why you have the PTSD. This is why you suffer. You're overly attached. You have to let it go. And I'm telling you guys from experience, letting go takes time. Especially when you want something, or when you know something is for you. And like I said, you've been traumatized, or you just want better. Even if you've never been traumatized before, when you want better, of course, you want to do things immediately. But it's like, some things take time. Some things do take time, and some things, take longer than what we expect. Look at the people and the places and things that you admire. It took them years a lot of times. They didn't just pop up in a day. And if you do, kudos to you. But for a good majority, people had to build their foundation. People had to go through certain things. People had to experience certain things in order for them to have the opportunities that they are having. So it's just like, be inspired, take your time, surround yourself with people who understand it. So that's the sixth thing, and I'm gonna end off the video. As you're in your season of the unknown, be okay with being open to receive from any and every angle, from certain people, places, and things. Like, Don't be closed off. Don't be so quick to judge a book by its cover. Now, of course, in the beginning of the video, we said to take what resonates, leave the rest. If it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't have to make sense. You're not always going to agree with everybody. You're not always going to agree with me. It's okay. If it doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But if it does, take the information, apply it, see it for yourself. But just most importantly, take the time for yourself. Stop trying to rush the process. You would trust the process if you weren't in a rush. And it's like, where are you going? The final destination in your life is death. That's when people finna realize. That's why the movie is called Final Destination, because we come into this world, we live, and we're going to exit, and we're going to leave. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching the video all the way to the end and smashing that like button, smashing the like button, turning on your post notifications, subscribing, follow me on all my social media platforms. All the information is down in the description box below, as well as heading to Instagram and TikTok, because I will be going live talking about this for the month of October, as well as DMing me if you have questions, comments, concerns. And lastly, booking your appointments and scheduling your one-on-one sessions, and my website, which is also in the description down below. So what are we going to do in the process? We're going to take our time. We're going to be committed. We're not going to rush. And we're going to reflect. Okay? Love you. Bye.